Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about a bunch of cut content from CoD WWII, and this is all taken from a Reddit post which I should link down in the description if I remember, and if I don't I'm a terrible person. But I'm going to try to link this down in the description, and because of fear of Activision striking videos randomly, I'm not going to show any images of the actual content in the video. However, you can just click the link and follow along and look at the images yourself, and even if you don't want to listen to the video, the link is in the description so you can just look at the Reddit post yourself. But this is actually made by the user It Is Mr. Wonderful, which is an amazing username by the way. But yeah, this is all used via Wraith, I think, which is a data mining tool, I think. So I don't have PC like Call of Duty or anything, I've never tried that, so I think that's what it is. But essentially we'll just get started into it straight away with cut maps, and we'll go to cut perks, then we'll go to cut weapons finally. So the first section is cut maps, and there are 3 of these in the Reddit post, which are MP_Wolf's Lair, MP_Paris, and MP_Castle. So Wolf's Lair appears to be some sort of bunker, which I would assume from the image that's shown on Reddit, it's like a German bunker, I think, and it's in some sort of woods area, so you'd probably play in the bunker as well as around the outside of the bunker. There isn't really much to go off of in the image aside from that. I think it's probably what the image would be shown in the vote system, in the pre-game lobby is probably what the image would be. But the next map is MP_Paris, and this is a remake of the map Resistance from Modern Warfare 3. This was actually remade in DLC 3 for Infinite Warfare, I believe. However, it wasn't the best remake, not because the remake looked bad or anything. I think it was just because of the advanced movement. It didn't play very well, so I kind of understand why they would remake it for World War II, because I would imagine it will play pretty well. The next map is MP_Castle, and this seems to take place in a castle, which is self-explanatory. The actual image in Reddit shows the person actually in the map. However, it isn't the best image, which I would assume either that's because the entire map isn't playable, or just because it's the only image they could get. I would imagine these maps aren't actually what the maps would be called if they were released properly into the game. The likes of MP_Wolf's Lair might well be the name. Wolf's Lair might actually be the name that would be shown in game. However, I highly doubt the name Castle would be the name of the map. I would expect MP_Castle to actually be called the likes of Stronghold or something like that if it's released into the game. And I would expect MP_Paris to be called something like Resistance or Retaliation or Uprising for the actual in-game name of the map. The reason I say this is because CoD developers, and I think multiplayer developers in general for games, tend to have internal names for the maps. So and they usually just give a description of what the map actually is. So the likes of Point Du Hoc in World War II, I would highly doubt the name of the map is actually MP_Point Du Hoc, because Point Du Hoc doesn't actually explain what the map is. If you hear Point Du Hoc, you don't think, oh, that's trenches. If you hear MP_Trenches, you think, oh, that's trenches, you know. If I would imagine Gibraltar would probably be called MP_Gibraltar, because you actually hear Gibraltar and think, oh yeah, that map takes place in Gibraltar. So I would imagine these maps won't actually be called what they have as MP_. I would imagine there'll be something different. I would also imagine these maps will come back as DLC 1 maps. The reason I say this is because it has been confirmed that for DLCs for World War II, there will be 1 war map and then 3 normal multiplayer maps, with one of these being a remake, I would imagine. Therefore, I would imagine these 3 multiplayer maps being DLC 1 multiplayer maps, and the war map will be entirely new. So I would imagine that's what they're doing, but we don't really know. But I would imagine they're not just going to cut maps entirely, if they're like pretty far in development, which these ones appear to be. So the next section is cut perks. So it would appear as though before they actually added in the division system, there appeared to be a proper perk system in the game, like we've had in all the other CoDs. So like a pick 10 or a pick 13 system or something like that. So there's a bunch of perks that I'm going to list off here which are actually in the game as basic training perks, just with different names. So the likes of Ghost is in the game currently. However, it's not called that as a basic training perk, and it's also an aspect of the Mountain Division if you rank it up. So yeah, there's a bunch of things that are in the game already. However, there's basic training perks, and these are leftover remains from the actual perk system that there would have been in the game if they hadn't have done divisions. So we're going to list off the perks and give descriptions of them as best I can. They only have images in the Reddit post, therefore I've just kind of guessed, so they might actually not be right. But first of all, we've got Blind Eye, which score streaks can't see you. Awareness, which seems to be increased footstep noises from enemies. Fast Hand, which is reload faster and switch weapons faster. Tactical Mask, which is immune to tactical grenades. Engineer, see enemy score streaks. Sixth Sense, which I think is in Black Ops 3. Initially I thought this was the tracker perk where you saw enemy footsteps, but I actually think this is the one in Black Ops 3 which the minimap lit up in the direction that enemies were in, so I'm kinda glad they didn't add this into the game. Dead Silence, no footstep noise. Anti-Up, which I think is Hardline, which has been in other Call of Duties as well as Anti-Up, which I think is just start with a bonus 100 score towards your score streak, something like that. Gung Ho, which is Fire while sprinting, which we have in the game already. And Ghost, like I said, we have in the game already. Stay off the radar when a UAV or whatever it is, a recon plane's up. So a lot of these, like I said, are actually basic training perks or division perks already. However, these are just leftover remains from the actual perk system that would have been in the game if divisions weren't in the game. I would highly doubt these will ever make a return unless they decide to start adding in basic training perks, which I really doubt they will, because this won't like drive sales for them or anything, so I highly doubt they would do that. There's a possibility, but I highly doubt they ever will, because these are just remains from the scrapped perk system. So the final section I'm going to get onto is cut weapons, which is the last section in the Reddit post. I would imagine that these weapons will be coming back as DLC weapons later in the year for this life cycle of World War II. So I would imagine come January they'll start adding in actual DLC weapons unless they start in December. I don't actually know if some of them are SMGs or ARs. I kind of put a question mark beside them on my list here, but I think that if I say SMG, they're actually SMGs. I couldn't tell if the ARs or not. However, there are actually no assault rifles on the list. So I think some of them might be assault rifles, but I'm not actually sure. But you can search them up with yourself if you want. I tried searching them up, I tried searching up the Type 5, but I couldn't actually find any results for World War II Type 5, so I might just be being an idiot, but yeah. The first one is the Arasaka, which is a sniper rifle. The next one is the Beretta, which is an SMG, I think. It might be an assault rifle though. The next one is the Beretta LMG, which actually doesn't have any image for the actual gun. All these guns actually have images in the Reddit post for the gun in game, or not in game, but what the creative class logo would be for it, as well as what it would look like in supply drops as a loot. And some of them don't actually have the creative class version, it just has the loot image, which could mean that they aren't actually that far in development with it, and they might actually be a scrapped weapon, but I highly doubt some of these were actually scrapped. The Beretta appears to only have a loot image, which essentially means that there isn't a creative class image for it. The next one is the Enfield, which isn't the Lay Enfield. This is the Enfield revolver, which in the beta the Lay Enfield was called the Commonwealth, which I would assume this is because they intended to have the Enfield revolver in the final game. However, they probably removed the Enfield revolver and then were like, oh, we can just call the Commonwealth the Lay Enfield, which is its proper name, I think. Because I would imagine they wouldn't want to have the Lay Enfield sniper rifle and the Enfield revolver, because it would cause confusion amongst people and that sort of thing. So if they ever add this revolver back in, I highly doubt it would be called the Enfield revolver, it would probably be called something else. The next one is the Gewehr 43, which is a sniper rifle. This is actually one which I think is a very iconic World War II sniper rifle, which I think a lot of people actually wanted to be in the game, so this will probably be a DLC weapon later down the line. And this currently does not have a creative class image, it just has a loot image, which, like I said, is a powered up image essentially. The next one is the P38, which is the pistol. Then it's the Type 5 SMG, which I think is an SMG, it might be an assault rifle, but I'm pretty sure it's an SMG. We have the trench knife, which doesn't have a creative class image, it just has a supply drop image. And we have the Sten, which is an SMG. The trench knife is a melee weapon, and the Sten is an SMG, which currently only has a loot image as well, instead of a creative class image. So a lot of these I'm actually pretty disappointed that they're not in the final game, such as the Sten and Enfield revolver as well, because the revolver is something this game's missing. And whilst we do have the Type 100 and the WAF, which both have the mags coming out the side of the gun, they aren't the same as the Sten. The Sten has its own kind of feel to it, and the Type 100 will be the closest we have to the Sten in the final game. I would very highly doubt that these won't come as DLC weapons. There's a very high chance these will all become DLC weapons in the future. I don't see why they would make these guns and then just cut them from the final game. Every Call of Duty game usually has cut weapons. I can remember just randomly sometimes I get bored and go into CoD WWII and look at scrapped weapons, but I remember from the likes of Advanced Warfare there was the Atlas sword, which obviously I'm very happy that didn't make it its way into the game, because that would have been a really stupid weapon. But there's guns which clearly are scrapped weapons because they make no sense in the game, at all. And there's guns which would be in Infinite Warfare there was the ACR, which was a scrapped weapon, which is kind of yeah, I can see them adding that into the game, but it's also not it actually fits the era, because a lot of the guns in Infinite Warfare are futuristic aside from the classic weapons, but all of these guns I've just went over kind of actually fit the theme of World War II, and the only reason I would think they've scrapped these from the final game is because if they added in all of the DLC, or if they added in all of the World War II weapons that are actually used during World War II, they would have no guns to add for DLC weapons, and therefore I would imagine that's why they scrapped a lot of these, and, well, quote unquote scrapped, because they'll probably be coming as DLC weapons in the future. So the good aspect of this is that we kind of know what weapons are going to be coming as DLC for at least the first 4 or 5 months. However, the downside is that we don't have access to them immediately, and most likely they'll be in supply drops. I'm going to go on a rant here now and kind of just give my opinions on this. The CoD maps could easily have been in the game by default. The only reason I would imagine these aren't in the game is because they have 12 multiplayer maps technically in the game currently. Every Call of Duty game usually launches with 12 multiplayer maps in the base game. You don't have to buy extra maps, you don't have to pre-order the game, you don't have to buy the season pass, it's just there. There's 12 multiplayer maps. There is currently 13 actually in the game, however you have to have the season pass in order to get access to quarantine, so there is actually only 12 in the base game. Now the thing is that whilst every Call of Duty launches with 12 multiplayer maps, World War II is counting war maps, which means that if you're only playing the likes of normal multiplayer modes like TDM, Domination, Kill Confirmed, all of the standard multiplayer modes which have been in every other Call of Duty, you'll only have 9 maps in rotation, but if you play War you'll have 3. And therefore it actually adds up to 12. However, they easily could have had these other 3 maps in the game, and it would have made 12 multiplayer maps for normal modes and then 3 bonus ones for war. Now you may think, oh, they did this because they already made 12 multiplayer maps in Sledgehammer Games, you know, it's pushing them to make 15. However, I believe Raven Software actually made the war maps, and they made Modern Warfare Remastered. Therefore, Sledgehammer actually made 12 maps, but cut 3 of them because there were already 12 in the game, which Raven made 3 of them. So I can understand why they did this from a business point of view, because it'll mean that they've literally got less work to do for their DLC season, which I would hope means that they'll have more time to fix bugs and stuff, because currently the game's a broken mess, but a part of me thinks it's just not going to happen. But I would imagine these 3 maps will be DLC 1 maps, like I said. The CoD perk system, I'm actually kind of sad, because it means that they actually did have a working perk system, but they absolutely scrapped it for divisions. I currently don't mind the division system so much, but I would much rather have the normal perk system with the divisions kind of incorporated into it in some way, shape or form. I really wish the division system actually had the slots for like 2 basic training perks, because whilst divisions are kind of like, they give you 4 perks in one essentially if you level them all up to max rank, but they also have set in stone perks for each division. You can't just select 4 random ones, it's 4 set in stone ones. If you want to use Ghost, you have to use Mountain Division, or else you equip a basic training perk with the other divisions and therefore lose one of your perks. This is a really bad system in my opinion. Like, I don't mind divisions, but when they force you to have to use certain perks because there's only 1 slot, it really reduces variety and stuff, because essentially in other Call of Duties there might have been less effective perks which people just use because they enjoyed using them, you know, the likes of Perception. This is a basic training perk in World War II which is called Instincts, I think, which is literally Perception from IW. However, if this system, the division system, allowed for 2 basic training perks, some people may use Perception, some people may use the perk, the basic training Instincts, as well as their normal crutch perk that they use, because they have an open slot, you know, they might really like Perception, and they therefore add it into their class if there's 2 slots, but because there's only 1 slot they have to use the one which everyone's using in order to be competitive, right? So I'm actually kind of sad that this perk system was actually cut from the game. However, they could make the division system much better if they just improved it a wee bit, but I highly doubt they will. The CoD weapon is really sly, like it really is. I can 100% understand why they did it. I can understand why they would cut all these weapons, because it means they've got easy DLC weapons to make, and like the majority of them are already made. But at the same time, it's kind of like we could have had access to these weapons day 1, and they just cut them from the game because of money essentially. So I'm kind of disappointed at this. I'm even more disappointed at the fact that these weapons will probably be supply drop only weapons. The reason I say this is because in Infinite Warfare there was variants of weapons, right? And they give the basic variants of these weapons, of the DLC weapons, for free to season pass owners, and if you didn't have the season pass you could do challenges to get them, and the actual variants of these weapons were locked behind supply drops, and you had to get lucky from a supply drop or wait and get a bundle in order to get these variants of the DLC weapons, which is fair enough in my opinion, because it means that you get access to the actual DLC weapons, but Activision's still making money because people are still encouraged to buy COD points in order to get the DLC weapon variants, which are stat changing, right? In Modern Warfare Remastered, the DLC weapons I believe were in supply drops as well, but you could use collections in order to get them, which, well, it took quite a while, from what I understand at least, it took quite a while to get scrap if you didn't play the game like a ton, which meant that it still like drove COD point sales, but at the same time it was still like actually realistic to get all the DLC weapons if you played the game enough. In Black Ops 3 there were no variants and this system wasn't in place, which means that there were no variants, there was no nothing, there was no salvage, no scrap, and basically all the weapons were in supply drops, and by far this is the best system to make money for Activision, and this was the best system to actually drive COD point sales. So if Activision wants to make the most money, and this game's been really successful so far, it's so like, I think it's 500 million copies within the first week or something like that, which is very impressive, and I would imagine Activision being Activision, they'll want to milk this for all it's worth. So I actually don't know if they're going to be content with 500 million sales, or if Activision's going to be like, oh, we can milk this for all we want, and then they'll just stick them in supply drops. There's two ways they can actually do this with DLC weapons. They can either add them into supply drops straight away, which is making more money, or they can add them into collections and keep people happy, as well as also still making some sort of money, because it's actually going to be quite difficult to get all the DLC weapons from collections. But that's about it, that's a round over. Like I said, the Reddit post should be linked in the description with all the images and everything. I'm sorry I couldn't link the images in the actual video, however I would imagine there's a very high chance of this video actually being copyright striked if that were a thing in the video. However, I mean, at the same time, I have very few subscribers and probably less than 10 people who are going to watch this video, so there's probably like, the video probably wouldn't be striked in the first place, but just for safety's sake, the Reddit post is in the description. There's no images in the video, and yeah, if you want to see the images, go to the Reddit post and give the guy the attention he needs, because this was very good work by him. It is Mr. Wonderful, I think the name was, so very good name like I said. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing, and I'll see you next one. Bye.